we're taking a hands-on look at the new limited edition collaboration between Huckberry and Timex. It's based on the Navy XL. It's called the Artic Night, and it's heavily inspired by the Rolex Explorer 2. However, it's not a direct homage to that Rolex. It's more inspired by it. It looks a lot like it, but it takes some of the design elements and doesn't just copy that watch. It has its own flavor. It has its own design elements. So let's flip the camera and take a look at the new limited edition Navy XL Artic Night by Huckberry and Timex. So here it is. This is not the first time that Huckberry and Timex have collaborated on a Navy XL. The first time was about 2 years ago. They collaborated on an Artic version of this watch, which was sort of a polar white dial, heavily inspired by the Rolex Explorer 2. It's obviously still very heavily inspired by the Rolex Explorer 2. However, they are calling this the Artic Night, and it gets sort of a black gray dial. I wouldn't call this a black dial. It's sort of black gray. And I'll do close-up so you can see the color. It has a little bit of a sunburst effect on it too. So it's a little bit different than just a straight black dial. Before we get into it, I do want to mention that my hands are still pretty beat up. My son was being attacked by a dog. He is doing fine. His arm was broken. I needed to get that dog off of him, and I did successfully, thank God. It could have been a lot worse. He is recovering, and he is expected to make a full recovery, and his arm should be just fine. So we are very, very happy and very lucky. I want to thank everyone for your kind words in the comments of all the videos that I've been doing. I really do appreciate you guys, and thank you for all your support over the years. Anyway, so the Artic Night from Huckberry and Timex. So this is a Navy XL, but what they have done here is sort of made it look like a Rolex Explorer. And what they have done is put a dial on here that just has a white minute track. Then you have applied indices. You have a triangle at the 12 o'clock. Every other non-primary indice is a circle. Then you have a hash at the 9 and 6 o'clock. And you have a date at the 3 o'clock. They put a cyclops on the mineral crystal, and then you have an orange second hand with a lollipop that has lume. Then instead of putting a Mercedes hand, they put sort of a skeletonized Mercedes hand. So everything that is skeletonized is actually the Mercedes portion. And then there's a 24-hour track on the center of the dial, and when the hour hand moves, it actually moves over those numbers. It looks good and actually is functional. And then you have a loomed minute hand. Then you have the Timex logo right below the 12 o'clock index. Above the 6 o'clock index, it just says automatic because this is a Navy XL automatic. It is powered by a Miyota 8 series movement, but it does hack, which is really good news because Timex have not been using hacking movements recently, and I think they're starting to change over to hacking movements, which is excellent. At the very bottom of the dial where it would say like Swiss made or made in Japan, it just says water resist 100 meters. That's because this is a 100 meter water resistant watch. You don't get a screwed in crown, but you do get a screwed in case back, and you do get a display case back where you could see the 8000 series Miyota movement. It just says the Navy XL collection, and then you have the Huckberry logo on the glass. It's printed on the inside of the glass. And also you get the Huckberry logo on the crown, which is kind of cool, not the Timex logo. And you have these crown guards on here. I believe the Navy XL is around 41 millimeters, but let's do a quick measurement to make sure. Yep, 40.7. It's around 41 millimeters, I would say. It probably wears like a 41 millimeter, and then the thickness is 13.5 millimeters thick. One thing that they did really well here is female end links. Even though I believe they're pressed end links, you do get female end links, which adds to fitability, and that is a word that I have recently coined. So you do get good a good fit with this watch because of those female end links, although the lug to lug is pretty long at almost 51 millimeters, so 50.7, but at the bracelet, it's actually smaller, so 48.9. So it actually goes in. So that's really good. Crown, not a huge crown, but not a small crown, sort of in keeping with the style of the watch, 5.9 millimeters. You get an oyster style bracelet. It is a solid link bracelet. You do get push pins, they're friction fitted, and there is polishing that goes down the center. Of course, that's going to be a fingerprint magnet. So you'll need to get your polishing cloth out when you're wearing this watch, but not that big of a deal. Clasp is a sort of traditional Timex clasp. It's not terrible. Double push button. Of course, it is pressed at this price for Timex. They always provide a pressed buckle, so the entire thing is pressed. There is no micro adjust. I wish there was a little bit of micro adjust on here. I was able to get this to fit my wrist pretty well, but the links aren't huge, but if you're in between, it's going to be a tight fit or a loose fit. That's something to keep in mind when you're buying a watch like this, but luckily, this watch looks really good on a strap as well. Actually, I think this watch probably looks even better on a strap. And I've seen people take the original Artic version and throw it on a strap, and it looks phenomenal. In fact, I think I will do that later on. I'll do another video, or I'll throw up a short here on YouTube or on my Instagram so you could see this on sort of a distressed leather strap. I think they look awesome. This gets a steel bezel insert, so it makes it look like a Rolex Explorer 2. Again, not sort of unintentional. A stainless steel bezel insert. Obviously, the markings in black look very similar to what you would get from the fixed bezel on a Rolex Explorer 2. Obviously, they're paying homage to that watch. It's not a direct homage, but it looks very similar, and they did a good job sort of making it look similar. It is hard to grip because of that polished edge, but let's listen to the bezel action. So I have very dry hands. It is pretty difficult for me to grip it. But there you go. Everything does line up pretty well, actually very well. The index at the 12 o'clock, the chapter ring, or the minute track, excuse me, and of course the bezel pip. Everything lines up very, very well. And there you go. I think is a very good looking watch that Timex came out with Huckberry. The first version obviously sold out pretty quickly. I believe this one sold out pretty quickly as well. That's because it was only $279. You're getting 100 meters of water resistance. They only made 500 of them. It looks a lot like a Rolex Explorer. It's coming from Timex, so with good reason, I think this is a pretty good watch. It's a winner. And here it is on my 7.5-inch wrist. And you can see, it wears like a 41 millimeter watch. It's basically 41 millimeters. I measured just under 41 millimeters, and it has almost a 51 millimeter lug span. I think that's the biggest number on here that might be a problem for some wrists. However, you do have female end links, so it does wear very comfortably, and it doesn't extend beyond that point. So I think if you have a smaller wrist than me, you definitely can pull this off, but I wouldn't say much smaller than mine. Unless you want to put it on a strap, maybe it would wear a little bit smaller, I'm not sure. But like I said, I will do a couple of videos where I put this on a strap, and I will post that on my Instagram and my YouTube here. Anyway, very quickly, let's shut off the lights and check out the lume. Also, they are giving away a Rolex, which I was actually just informed about. So they're giving away a Rolex on the 11th, December 11th. And I think there's only one day to enter, and I think you have to spend like $75 on their website. I'll put a link to their website down below. It's an affiliate link. If you are interested, check them out using the link down below. And of course, if you buy something, if you spend $75, you get a chance to win a Rolex. They're collaborating with Hodinkee to give away a Rolex Explorer, ironically. So there you go. So very quickly, a lume shot. Well, there you go. The lume is actually pretty good. There's applied indices, so I think those are more liberally applied with lume than you would get from, say, a printed dial from Timex. So there's just physically more lume in those indices and on those hands. Really not bad. and I'm actually pretty impressed. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. The only two issues I have with this watch is probably the bezel action. It's a little bit tight and a little bit hard for me to turn, but I think that happens with all Navy XLs. And then of course the mineral crystal. I wish they would put a sapphire crystal. That's really a Timex issue. They love to use mineral crystals. But other than that, I think this is a really cool watch, especially for $279. You really can't go wrong. It looks like a Rolex Explorer 2. If you like that watch, you're gonna like the way that this watch looks as well. Tell me what you think down in the comments down below. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. One of those links is to Huckberry, and I will put a link down below to this watch. I'll actually put a link down to their website. If you are interested in entering that Rolex competition, definitely use the link down below and check them out. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you in the next video.